Good morning. My name is Lorene. Welcome to Books at the Bottom of the Stairs. Today I'd like to talk to you about two different books. The first one is Richard Wagamese's Starlight. And it's really 100% perfect as far as a book goes. It's not too long, that's always nice. It has a really good plot line. It's a bit of a romantic plot line in the sense that the reader is brought to notice the beautiful landscape and the nature and a farm and a community, and so there's sort of the romance of the world, the romance of nature, and then the humans involved. There's sort of a platonic romance, if that makes sense, between Starlight, who's the main character, Frank Starlight, and a man who has come to work on the farm with him. He's been there for 3 years. It's completely a platonic relationship, but they both have evolved over the course of the 3 years into going from an employer-employee situation to two men who really work quite well together in a farming environment and have bonded with a deep, deep friendship. So there's that sort of growth and positivity. Then there is Emmy, who is on the run with her daughter Winnie, and she has had quite a harrowing experience. Most of her life just kind of lurched from one bad scene to another. And Winnie's life hasn't been much better because Mom as an adult has not been making better choices. And so now finally things have transpired that Emmy has decided that it's just things have got to change. And she encounters Starlight. And I don't want to give too much away, but basically her time with Starlight is a opportunity for growth and renewal and change because she's never experienced a positive relationship with a male ever. And both Starlight and Roth are very positive in their approach to work, the land, the farm, relationships, working with Winnie, who has also not had any kind of positive relationships with male or female. She's just been a shit show for her all along. So there's that kind of romance, and it isn't the romance in the sense of people discovering, oh, love at first sight, gotta get to it, it's not that kind of romance at all. And I'm not even sure whether that was the intention of Richard Wagamese when he was writing this. He didn't really mention it. I watched one or two videos where he describes his intentions around the books Indian Horse and Medicine Walk. He died before this book was finished, so I believe it was the editor who kind of pulled it together. I don't know how much that had been happening prior to Wagamese's death, so he certainly did not write the ending. What they've done is they've brought parts of the book that were incomplete but edited in such a way that there is a beautiful flow right to the very end of the book. It was very, very well done, whoever did it. So I just would like to read something to you because it's why I fell in love with this book. What's happening here is that Frank Starlight, is a naturalist photographer, and he is tracking wolves. And he's very fit. He's able to sort of run along with the pack behind him, and he's behind the pack. And so the pack has stopped, and he's within viewing distance of the wolves. The wolves, angled sharply suddenly and propelled themselves in a hard zigzag up a cut of ridge. It was lightly treed, and there were hamper-sized rocks and boulders strewn about, and he found himself having to clutch and grab at saplings to pull himself upward while he ran. He followed their path. His lungs ached, and the muscles at his calves protested, and his thighs and buttocks burned at the push, but he pressed on. The hard scrabble face of the cut was inches from his face, and he could smell the lichen on the rocks, dry, dusty, metallic almost. He angled his feet to grab more of the face and strained harder against the gravity he felt upon him like a weight. The wolves crested the ridge and disappeared. He took deeper breaths and forced his muscles to work, and he could feel the tension in his neck and shoulders. When he finally stepped quivering onto the lip of the ridge, he was spent and leaned forward with his hands on the top of his knees, and breathed through his mouth and peered through the top of his eyes to locate the wolves. They lay on a sloping boulder that poked out over the far edge. the moon behind them like a giant shining eye. The alpha male was the only one sitting, and he faced the shimmering orb of the moon with his head slightly raised, like a child wrapped in wonder. I mean, how can you not like that, love that, get passionate and excited about it? It's just such a poetic rendering of the man, the nature, the animals. Yeah, I'm totally in love with this book, and grateful that it's not quite as hard-hitting as the other books, Indian Horse and Medicine Walk. And I think I've read pretty much everything that Richard has written except for his biography and his poetry. And one of the reasons I haven't read his poetry is it's not really selfish. I'm not very good at understanding poetry, but it doesn't sit with me very well. I either get it or completely don't get it. And then once I put the book down, I forget it. So I just feel like I would just not be doing the poetry any kind of service at all by being it just feels like someone better than me should read it. So that was that book, and it really sat with me for quite a while. I think this is, Richard Wagaseme-ness, I think, is an author that I'm going to keep going back to. I think I have most of his books on my bookshelf, so he's the right kind of author to return to. This book, Bare Necessity by James Gould-Bourn, was a complete impulse buy. I went to my local bookshop, Bookmark, and it wasn't even the first book. It was just, they've got their displays, and you go down a little aisle, and probably what captured my eye was that it's almost turquoise. It's like, turquoise, woo, that's for me. So the other thing that I loved about it is there's a picture of a panda and a little boy sitting on the bench. So, that's just a charming picture. The artwork is just really sweet. So I picked it up and read the back and thought, yeah, this just sounds like the kind of book I need right now. And it's hilarious. It's just about the funniest thing I've read all summer, except for Janet Ivanovich, but that's a different kind of humor. That's more Laurel and Hardy meet Charlie Chaplin. So this is a different kind of humor. The people who are in it are just very quick-witted. There's a lot of very good banter. Okay, so the main characters are Danny, the dad, and Will, the son, and Liz, who's passed away. Liz is the mom, and she has died in a car accident, and Will had been in the car with her at the time of the accident. So, that kind of setup. Now, there's another secondary character called Crystal, who is a pole dancer, and she's very good at telling you that a pole dancer is not a stripper. So just to get that off my chest and hers. So Danny is pretty ineffective as a father. Liz had been the primary parent. Danny had been the primary breadwinner. Not a very good breadwinner, but it was a happy family. And then once Liz is gone, the family falls into deep grief. And one of the ways that the son Will is coping with things is by not speaking. And so he's selective mutism. So some people have, just give him a good wallop and he'll get fixed, and other people are, everything will get better. And there's 100 different ways of people interpreting Danny's inability to speak. Some of it's choice and some of it's an inability. And as we get to know the dad, we realize just how floundering he is. His bills aren't paid. So, in order to not give every possible detail away, Danny becomes a panda mascot kind of thing, and he just starts to dance for, what is that called? Not jousting. Oh my God, what is the word? Not juggling, panhandling. So he's panhandling because he sees all these other people doing bizarre things out on the streets, and he figures, they're making more money than I am. Plus, he's now unemployed. So he can't dance worth a step. And through a bunch of different hilarious things, he bumps into Crystal, who's the pole dancer. So one thing leads to another, and he convinces Crystal to help him how to learn to dance. And then further along the line, he discovers that there is a contest for the different, they call them homeless acts, I guess, but that didn't work out very well because most of the people who are doing the panhandling stuff, that's not street performer. I think that's where I want to go, street performer. They are not homeless at all. They're making quite good money. So there's a contest, and there's a $10,000 prize at the end of the rainbow, and Danny's got his eyes fixed on it. So how he gets from being a completely inept panda to a potential prize winner in about 6 weeks or so is just, it's just a riot. There's Ukrainian, sort of Russian, I'm not really sure what part of Russia they come from anyways. Ivan and Ivana and their son Yuri add a huge comic relief. And then, of course, the street performers are just so charming. And, of course, there's a bad guy and there's a good guy. And then there's a different bad guy. And they all kind of come together because the world really isn't a big world when you think about it. And so there's all kinds of intersections going on. And through this whole thing, Will is still not speaking, but somehow comes upon this panda, not knowing it's his dad because it's all secret, and he starts to talk to the panda. And the dad inside the suit is like, oh my God, what do I do now? And so the story moves along from there about this boy developing a relationship with the panda, and the same boy having a completely disastrous relationship with the person inside the panda. So it's wonderful. I read this thing in probably 24 hours, more or less, over the course of a day. I couldn't put it down, and I laughed out loud multiple times. So I think, now I'm not sure if he's a Canadian writer. Why do I think he's, no, I'm totally wrong. He's British. Yes, I should know that. It's set in Britain. He's just really captured the street life, he's the banter, he's captured the pole dancing environment, the contest bizarreness, I guess, the backstage silliness. There's an escaped rabbit. It just goes on and on. I think this is a wonderful book. It's a real sleeper in the sense that the cover, I think a lot of people are just going to walk right past it because it's too nice. I think it's too nice of a cover. So that's a strong recommendation for me. I think I'm going to recommend it to a couple of people who have been saying how they're having troubles reading and, they just want something light. And it's not light. The content, how do you get this boy to move on from his grief and, not to move on, but to work with his grief and his relationship with his dad it's not a light topic, but it's just presented so beautifully. Now from another, I'm just going to go through these guys quickly. A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson has been mentioned a number of times on a number of the booktuber vlogs that I watch, particularly in the new year. I know it was sort of January, February that I was making note of this. So it's finally in my hands. I think I was number 34 on the list. So that's something I'm looking forward to. It's a perfect nail-biting mystery. And there is a second one, but I don't remember the title. I'll have to look that up. This one is from a million miles ago, 2017, I guess. The White Cat. Well, this is how the library is now doing its letting you know you've got a book thing. So anyways, I have no idea what it's about. It's about magic, crime, and romance, and possibly between two men, simply because there are two men on the cover. I have no idea what it's about. And also from actually this is longer ago, but I put it on my list, 2017, Octavia Nothing I think, is that the original title of the two? It's about a young boy who's a slave in America, and his background is that he's been raised sort of like a performing monkey because the people that he's with, who are his owners and the owner's friends, don't believe that a Negro, because that's how they address them, could possibly be intelligent. So this child has been given all kinds of opportunities for education and enlightenment, and so he's like a performing monkey, but he has no idea. He doesn't even really, in the first book, comprehend that he's a slave. That's how well treated he is. So in the first book, he ends up encountering his reality, and I believe that's around the time when the smallpox vaccination was first being introduced, and for whatever reason, he's involved in the first inoculations in America. It's been so long since I read that book. So this is the second one, and it just took me forever to get it on my, I don't know why, just anyways. Octavian and his tutor in 1775 are fleeing for their lives in British occupied Boston. And he has, yes, Octavian somehow in the first book, I wish I should reread it, has run afoul of his mentor and his owners, and there's bad stuff happened, and so we're left on a cliffhanger. So what follows is a tale of skirmish and flame, flight and fury, and battle on sea and land. Octavian transforms himself from a violinist playing airs for English officers into a true counter-revolutionary, raiding the shores of Virginia in the hopes of finding freedom for his people. Seeking both the truth of his past and some hope for his future, he encounters generous thieves, pious carpenters, delicate lords, noble cowherds, bedazzled scientists, and murderous rebels. This astonishing narrative escalates to its startling, deeply satisfying climax. And who doesn't like a satisfying climax? So that's that's like a whole new pile, just to be added to all the other piles. Oh my goodness, it's gonna be a reading winter. So my daughter, I think I told you, because I'm always excited about what my daughter's up to, is going to be here in about a week. We're going to be in 14 days of self-isolation. She must be in isolation with her boyfriend, and we are sort of in a looser isolation, because I think one of us is allowed to go and get groceries, and I think, but I'm not positive, we're allowed to go for walks. But other than that, hope to get through this pile. But I'll see you next Tuesday with some kind of report or other. And I hope all your reading dreams and adventures continue to come true. Bye-bye.